from the crown all the way to the root in all of the chakras, functional medicine, and what we call the functional medicine matrix. So over the years, I've just kind of taken and utilized so many great healing methods and disciplines and kind of wrapped it into my own experience. And that's what it is.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Life podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, someone that I had the pleasure of hanging out with at a biohacking retreat myself. He's an amazing guy. His name is Dr. Ryan Lazarus. And Dr. Ryan Lazarus, he's been the founder and clinical director at the Lazarus Method, which he's going to get into. Really fascinating stuff there. Board certified functional medicine practitioner, certified clinical nutritionist, certified personal trainer and rehabilitation specialist. Holds a master's degree in nutrition, bachelor's degree in exercise science, was an adjunct faculty metabolic therapy at UWS, currently serves as corporate wellness coach, best-selling author, and functional medicine researcher, providing guidance to leading organizations in the health and performance sector. He has a long list of accolades, as you can see. He also has an incredible story of how he overcame massive medical issues and inflammation. I'll let him get into that. But Dr. Ryan, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. Great to be here. I appreciate the invite, Talor. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, we always start with kind of a brief background of how you got into being so obsessed with health and getting every certification and degree known to man. So yeah, let's hear a little bit of the backstory.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to note too that, the more I learn, the less I understand. Those are great designations. But the real education is going through life and meeting with people and learning what we don't know. And so I put that on there just to establish credibility, but I'm not on a platform. I'm still learning and applying every single day. So my story, I'll keep it quick. I was 18 years old and an athlete, played football, soccer, baseball, on my way on soccer scholarship in California where I lived, playing college, and had a very dramatic injury that changed my whole life. And it was essentially crushed organs. So I crushed my pancreas and my spleen, and they did an emergency surgery, saved my life. Had a kind of a near-death experience, very unusual circumstance that has shifted my consciousness and shifted my life from that point on. I struggled with my health, went down a very dark place, a dark abyss of anger and depression. And that was a good, 5 to 6 years, and went through the kind of conventional medicine approach, went through endocrinologists and gastroenterologists, just found a lot of dead ends. And so started doing my own research, and I started understanding that there is a different paradigm to healing, and dedicated my life to understanding this as much as I can, and then helping other people. And so that's really what prompted the movement into functional medicine and understanding nutrition and understanding all the various elements of health. Became obsessed with it, and now it's my career, and it is the light. There was a lot of darkness after, there's a lot of light now, and I have learned things and learned principles that I help every single patient with. And so it happened for a reason, just like many of the issues and traumas and failures that we all experience. And so I'm excited to share with you what I've learned along the way and some concepts that might help the listeners.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Yeah. And I love how you said it was the best thing that ever happened to me, right? Like that's how I think as well, or it happened for a reason. And I always say to people, if you're in pain, if you're in a bad place, you can, it's almost, you never realize it at the time, but sometimes, same thing with my health journey and the pain that I was in, right? Like at the time, it was like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But looking back now, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, right? So it's like from that seed of darkness and being at a really low point in life, really can grow something beautiful. And you won't, when you're in it, it's hard to see that. But looking back, I think that's something, just a little bit of inspiration for people listening now, if they're maybe not in a great place in their lives. So yeah, great reminder there. And yeah, man, let's talk a little bit about what are some of the things you learned, and I know you now teach the Lazarus Method. So if you want to, kind of talk a little bit about some of the things you've learned. Maybe I know you work with all the way from regular everyday people all the way up to professional athletes, world record holders and things like that. So let's start more for the average person then, right? The average person that comes in your clinic, not a professional athlete. What are some of the main issues? What are some of the things that you're solving, or some of the things you've learned along the way?
Yeah, great question and great reminder. I've been in the trenches. I've been in the trenches with the patients. So I have spent as much time on this side of the desk helping people as much on that side. And so I get it. I get that making health changes is difficult. It's your values and it's your beliefs and it's your thoughts and it's your actions and it's your habits. All of those really dictate your lifestyle. And there's a lot of things that can be obstacles to having good lifestyle habits. And so for, your average person, which we all are really essentially average, there's the elite athletes that I work with, but that's a very, very small percentage. It's understanding that there is resistance to change. And I believe that it's your lifestyle, it's your decisions, it's your sleeping, it's your mindset, it's how you move, it's what you're exposed to every day is first. That's your lifestyle. And then your nutrition, what you're putting in your body, what you're not putting in your body. And then third, supplements and or nutraceuticals and or natural products, in that order. And so, I don't just give them a supplement. It's let's identify where the problem lies, maybe the mindset, and how can I help your nourishment? How can I help your nutrition? And then let's use some supplements. So that's a basic framework that I use. Functional medicine is an operating system, and it incorporates a very holistic, comprehensive model. And so I help identify where their imbalances are. And I do that with very thorough testing, blood chemistry, microbiome testing, genetics, adrenals. I do a very thorough exam. I check their heart rate variability and their body composition through a BIA, a functional movement screen to find different, or weaknesses in their kinetic chain. It's a really thorough exam. And then a really thorough intake questionnaire. What are their goals? What's their definition of success? What do they want to achieve? And I take that and I put it through a proprietary algorithm, and it spits out their strengths, their weaknesses, in what I call the essential elements of health. So they know, boom, right where they're at, their strengths, their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities. And based on that data, I can now personalize what they need to do in that order, with lifestyle, nutrition, and then with natural products from there. So that's it in a vast overview, and I'm happy to elaborate from there.
Yeah, please do. And man, I've been wanting to see someone who can, look at my movement and how I move and how I lift weights and stuff. Because I hear that a lot of people just have just the way that they're moving, they're off one, in certain ways, or, maybe they've done something, maybe with their job, they've been doing something a certain way. And so there's imbalances or whatever it is. That's really fascinating. Actually, for my own selfishness, I'm curious a little bit more about that. And then I do want to get into some of the mindset and nutrition stuff as well, especially the mindset stuff, because it always fascinates me about, it's like, you can learn, it's pretty easy to learn what nutrition, like what's good, don't eat sugar, don't drink alcohol, right? Don't eat fried foods, right? Like eat whole foods, right? Like, and obviously there's more to it. And I want to hear, more of your in-depth on that, but it's like, so if people know it, or if the information's out there, why aren't they doing it? Right? That's always a fascinating question that I'm actually trying to learn more and more about all the time. So I would like to ask you about the mindset stuff, but just real quick on the movement, talk to me about like how people, or how a functional specialist like yourself could look at the way that I move and maybe tell me some imbalances. And then I know you would give specific exercises, right, to fix those imbalances essentially, right?
Yes. So there's a pretty standard exam. It's called a functional movement screen, and it reveals kind of your entire kinetic chain movement. A kinetic chain, if you've never heard it, is basically like one chain from the top of the head all the way down to the feet. And you need specific muscles that have flexibility. You need core stability. You need joints that have mobility. So this falls within the realm of stability, mobility, and flexibility, which is one pillar of movement, right? And so I could be, by doing this and doing an exam, I could find imbalances in their kinetic chain, be it, the calf or shoulder range of motion or hip flexor tightness. This exam or screen reveals that. And then from there, I can prescribe corrective exercises to address that. And that's in addition to what you would call like the other exercises, like high intensity interval training and strength and power. The three pillars of movement in my practice are cardiovascular, pulmonary endurance, your ability for VO2 and oxygen, and strength and power, very, very important. And then that flexibility, mobility, and stability. Can we build a movement plan that incorporates all of those? And here's the most important part, in a fun, diverse way that they enjoy. I do not like building exercise robots and getting on a treadmill every day or going to a spin class every single day. If that's all they do, they're lacking. My patients are lacking a diversity of different movement patterns, and so part of my role is share with them so many different fun ways to move. And so that's part of the screening that helps me personalize that movement pattern.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you said hip mobility and shoulder mobility, and those are two things that I know I personally need to work on. I actually force myself. I have a trainer at the gym once a week. Actually, I'm going in a couple hours, specifically for mobility, because I know that for some reason I don't do it when left to my own efforts. I usually just default to lifting weights and doing some high intensity stuff or whatever. But I know how important it is, and so I literally have a trainer that forces me to do like harder mobility, more challenging mobility stuff, to make sure I stay on top of that, which I think is super important, right? Because you can't. It's difficult to do super power movements and lift heavy weights and stuff like that if you have all these imbalances and no mobility and stuff like that. So yeah,
it leads to injury. It leads to injury, and it is of the three pillars that I just alluded to, that is the most overlooked one. Most of us are very busy. We got to go in and go to the box, hit our CrossFit gym, or go to the class, or do our own thing, and it's overlooked. And so I'll do it first. In fact, it's funny. I spend more time doing that than I do doing my hard movements and my strength and my power. I love it all, but I'm 46 now, and all these kind of issues, musculoskeletal issues that I accumulated in sports, are all slowly starting to show up. So that's how we take care of our body. If there is a weakness in your kinetic chain, you will compensate somewhere. And if you're working out every day or training or playing, that repetitive motion can basically create repetitive injuries, and then that's a whole different game. So we want to avoid it, and it's prevention. So good for you.
Yeah. That's really good stuff, man. So you're doing it pretty much. You're spending more time on that. I know, man. I need to spend more time on that too. So what about, let's dive into some of the other ones. Let's touch on nutrition real quick, and then let's go into the one I'm super excited about, the mindset and stuff that you're doing there.
Yeah, well, gosh, nutrition, right? I mean, that's a 5-hour podcast in itself, and I could talk about it for 5 hours, and your viewers might even be more confused, because look, it is paralysis by analysis right now. You have the whole spectrum of vegan experts stating here is what you need to eat, and carnivore keto experts saying this is what you need to eat, and everybody's right. And so here's what it comes down to Laura, is eating a diet that is healthy and personalized and that you can sustain for the rest of your life is my version of a healthy diet. I could give you so many different scientific research about the benefits of all these different foods. with nutrigenomics and phytonutrients and protein threshold and really, really awesome terms that I've learned along the way that maybe sound smart, but the reality is the average person, which is you and I, which we just want to feed ourselves real fuel, nourishing food that helps repair and helps our body recover, combats inflammation, gives us the building blocks for neurotransmitters and hormones. It's quite a simple formula. It just gets very, very complicated. And so what I try to do is make it simple. I use a concept with a lot of my patients, and nutrition is one of them, is taking complexity, giving an analogy, and then providing a strategy. Because there is so much information right now. It is everywhere you go. It's every fitness nutrition expert, doctor says, this is what you need to do. These are fixed formulas. This is how it needs to be. And I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to or advocate flexible formulas. Let's gather this information. Let's gather your information and see how you're different. And let's create a method. Let's create a operating system for you that you can perform these 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and still enjoy life and all the pleasures of everything else. And I believe after, being in the trenches for 20 years in practice and working with over 7,000 patients, that's the degree of success, is keep it simple. Don't try to be perfect, but give basic parameters, tight columns and tight diets. In my experience, don't work in the long run. Diet is what I call it, a 4-letter word that starts with die. So I don't say diet, I say this is the food plan that we try to stay with, and then we can be flexible with it. So that's a long answer, but that's what I've seen in terms of successful, sustainable nutrition, I guess, lifestyle choices.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that before. Yeah, diet it starts with DIE. Yeah, and it's true. I always tell people, I don't diet. And exactly what you said is the main point. Is like, is it something you can keep up with for the rest of your life? Something, a lifestyle, not a diet, right? So I really agree with that. I think people who are doing, if you're just doing a short-term thing for 30, 60, 90 days, and then you go back to where you were, that's not very helpful in the long run. So
yes, 100%. Just want to clarify. There are times where we need therapeutic food plans, or there's a motivation to do low carb, or we want to try plant-based. It's not that you need to stick with, this one specific food plan all the time, but it's eventually like, what is your default? Like, what do you fall to as your default food plan? I have people that will go on a keto diet. I wrote my master's thesis on keto. I can tell you all the amazing complexity mechanisms of keto, and I've used it in my life for 25 years. I'm a type 1 diabetic as a result of my injury. They removed my pancreas. I can tell you all about digestive struggles and metabolic abnormalities. Keto is a therapeutic. Low carb is therapeutic. Paleo at times is therapeutic. Plant-based is therapeutic. It has created dogma where it's like, I'm right and you're right. The answer is, if it's real, you eat real food, it's mostly plants, you're eating clean proteins, you're eating within an eating window, and it's personalized based on your blood work and your genetics, boom. If they know that, then it takes the pressure off it, and you can sustain that. So
yeah, I agree totally. That was a good distinction as well. And I've also, I think, being paleo myself, doing keto for a while, and now I wouldn't say that I'm keto, but I would say I'm certainly low carb. I've found huge benefits from all of those. And I think one of the things I always say is most issues that people are facing comes from inflammation. And so it obviously makes sense to try to lower inflammation. And I always say inflammation comes from what you put inside your body most of the time. So, lowering inflammation is always going to be, I think, a key aspect. And so, when we say don't diet, you don't need to diet, I do agree. Yeah, sometimes you do little sprints, but then you have to stay with something long term. But I think the key is like, what are some of the main things? Let me ask you, with all the patients that you've seen, what are some, like, if we could give a couple of concrete examples of like, okay, they were drinking every day or eating sandwiches every day or whatever it is. Is there anything where you've seen huge differences where they just like eliminate a certain habits or foods?
Yeah. I meet the patient where they're at. Everyone is coming in and meeting with me with a different history and a different food plan. And so I will evaluate what you're asking, which is what are the main vulnerabilities? Like what do we need to change or remove right away? I think we can all agree that seed oils and rancid fats is where cardiovascular disease comes from, and that's what's driving inflammation. I mean, those inflammatory oils, if you're eating even small amounts, just over and over and over, we know that affects the vessel wall. It affects the liver. It can create what's called metabolic endotoxemia, and so it affects the microbiome. So, and it produces this high prostaglandin pro-inflammatory state. And so, like bad rancid fats, fried fats, hydrogenated fats, that's the stuff that needs to go. Now, the thing is it's hidden in a lot of different foods, and so there's an education process with that. So it's obviously, is there, a salmon salad or a donut? That's an obvious distinction, right? A lot of people don't realize that those, hydrogenated soybean oils might be in a lot of little things that they're eating, bars and dressings and sauces and things that they're eating out. So stop becoming paranoid. It's becoming informed. And so I'll say that, number one. Sugar, gosh, I mean, everybody knows that sugar is, a drug and that it should be minimized. So, I'll evaluate the amount of sugar that they're eating. And I'll tell you right now, many people can't just do it like that. And so it's literally like a shifting of how can we reduce the sugar? How can we substitute it with better alternatives? I'm big on the toxins of food, like in terms of meat. I am a strong advocate that the meat should be raised in a clean manner. A lot of the conventional meat is very inflammatory, and so the classic. If you're having fish, you want it wild and cold water. Grass-fed, grass-finished, free range. All of the buzzwords that we've kind of heard. So the protein should be clean. The vegetables ideally should be organic. The rancid oils should be reduced significantly, and the anti-inflammatory oils should be emphasized. Glycemic index and sugar. And so I'll give them a food plan depending on where their vulnerability is, that will help shift this to just change it. I've seen in my practice that can create a lot of resistance. And so there is a strategy. It's really based on how willing they are ready to change, if they have food addictions. But those are the top things I'm looking at, like if there's MSG or additives and preservatives, high fructose corn syrup, and inflammatory oils. Let's identify those. Let's slowly remove them, substitute with different foods that provide the same amount of associations and pleasure, and then start making that habit before we start giving them the really, really nourishing foods that they need.
That was as good of a summary about nutrition in 5 minutes than as I've ever heard. So that was really good, man. And I'm glad you touched on that. Healthy oils like avocado oil, olive oil, things of that nature compared to the seed oils. And it's crazy because the seed oils really are, like, in terms of like snacks and like you said, even salad dressing, right? Like if it's not organic ketchup, all the ketchup has high fructose corn syrup. People don't even realize. I had a friend who was like eating eggs every day and then using like conventional ketchup with high fructose corn syrup on his eggs every day. I had another friend that bought a bag of almonds thinking they were healthy almonds, and it was like, roasted in canola oil or some other kind of rancid seed oil. They don't even realize, like, wow, like, so it's in. So even myself searching for healthy snacks, for example, keto snacks, healthy snacks, so many of them, it's tough to find them without seed oil. So, and that's one where I think people really need to start looking at the labels more. I think that's one big shift when you become, I guess, more health conscious, I would say, is you really start looking at all the labels, and and when you do, you'll be amazed, like, oh my gosh, everything has like soybean or canola or high fructose or sunflower oil even, or all these seed oils. And yeah, so it's something to be aware of, and then finding the ones that are actually being able to make a change. That's really good. So yeah, I really enjoyed all of that. You mentioned, yeah,
It's
go ahead.
food awareness. It's food
Yeah.
awareness. It's being prepared and not paranoid. There is a healthy balance there, right? Because I've seen it shift to where I've seen it where that all of a sudden the person, it's paralysis by analysis, and they don't know what to eat anymore because they're so scared that all these things are creating disease. It really is like chaos and order, and yin and yang, and dark and light. It's paranoia and preparation. It's meeting there, being educated, being self-aware, and then just slowly making those right decisions. It can be overwhelming for a lot of different people, and so that's where we just want to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about some of the mental aspect of it. Like, it was very interesting to hear you even say, like, how ready is someone to make a change, or meeting them where they're at. Like, they come to you, you would assume if someone's coming to you, right? Or you would just assume in general, right? Like, yeah, everyone wants to be healthier, right? Like, I'm sure people listening now, I know many people who listen regularly, that they obviously listen to the podcast because they want to be healthier, and they want to, many times it's they want to lose weight, or they want to, they have pre-diabetes, they're pre-diabetic, and they want to make sure that they don't become, diabetic, things of that nature. Why is it that so many people, they know they know what they should do, or they have challenges, or I guess you can see in your practice sometimes some people who are more ready and willing and determined to make a change than others, and I guess hopefully trying to get to that place without first having something really bad happen to you with your health, right? We know, obviously, like, if you get some really bad diagnosis, all of a sudden, you get really motivated to change, or at least you should. But we want to get to a place, I'm sure this is kind of your probably part of your mission, getting to a place where people are changing lifestyle habits and their mindsets and their health habits before a problem occurs.
Yeah. I think this is the key. I think this is the key for all of us, which is, it's a little deep, but it's something that I address with every single patient, which is, what is our purpose? Why are we doing the things we're doing? What is your definition of success? A lot of people don't even know, and they use an external scorecard. They think that their success is based on the way that they look, or how much money they make, or their status, or their place in their community, or in their social network. So this really gets to the point of it's almost like a life philosophy that we talk about, which is, what is your spark? What's your drive? What's your mission? What's your purpose? And most people don't know what that is. And so part of my program is helping them find it, helping them reveal it. And if they know what it is, we help cultivate it. But if they don't, give them really awesome, powerful tools that can help there. Because ultimately my mission is to help them define their version of success. If it's not a trauma, or if it's not a diagnosis, or if it's not a dilemma, most humans will put it off until there is a diagnosis. It's just, we are reactive. We are not proactive by nature. And so to answer your question, it's a long answer, but my short answer to it is, how can I facilitate the epiphany? How can I help them find their spark? How can I help motivate them? And it's different for every single person, and that's where the personalization comes in. There's great tools. There's great tools that I use. Some people have a very fixed mindset, and they think they need to come in, and because they're checking a box. And some people are ready. They saw a picture of themselves. They received a bad diagnosis. They received labs. There was a divorce. There was a death in the family. I mean, all these different things. So, this is the question about what drives us, right? And I don't have all the answers. I have my own personal experience, but enough time where I can sit down with an individual and ask them the right questions and give them the right intake forms, run the right data, and then reveal to them, this is what we need to do. Let's find your values, your beliefs, your motivation, and let's give you a program where you're motivated. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I can tell you about different concepts and different things that I use, but it's all in here. At the end of the day, we want to eat well, we want to exercise, we need good sleep, but do we challenge ourselves? Are we connecting with ourselves? Do we know the difference between our soul and our ego? And in our world, unfortunately, in our culture, there's really not an emphasis on that. It's what's going on out there, right? And so just kind of want to release them from the matrix and then just kind of tie into what is important. And I think when that happens, boom, it's like a light bulb. And then that resistance to change starts to go, and then it's fun. Then I make it fun. My programs are based on gamification. It's simple, small, realistic, practical habits that give you a little bit of progress every single day, and that's very important for a lot of people. So sorry, that's a long answer, but I can delve or talk it about whatever you want specifically on that.
I love this, man. Yeah, this is great stuff. Yeah, let's dive in a little deeper, right? So let's say, and I think people don't really realize, like, oh, it's just, I want to learn about health or be healthier. It's like, yeah, this is actually a big thing. They're like, oh, I don't need to, find out my life's purpose or whatever. It's like, no, maybe you need something, right? Like a bigger reason why, right? Like you always hear people say, what's your why? What's your big reason, your big why? And by the way, it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to be the next Elon Musk and go to Mars or whatever, right? It could be just like, I'm going to be an amazing mother, to my kids. I'm going to be whatever it is, right? So, let's say someone's listening and they're like, I don't really know what my life's purpose is. Like, I don't know my big why, reason why am I here or whatever. So like, but they know they need to make a change. They're, maybe they're overweight, they're pre-diabetic, they're whatever. What are some of the exercises or things that you'll kind of maybe have them go through?
Yeah, great question. And to clarify, it's uncomfortable understanding what the why is. And I want to be accurate with it. The majority of people do not know this. And it doesn't need to be this big, amazing why. Like, why am I put on this planet? The why is different for every single person. And that's why I give them tools and exercise that they define their own version of success. Because success might be a great parent, might be a great employee, it might be a great friend. And it's a dynamic process. That's where they are in their life. And it could change in 5 years and it can change in 10 years. In fact, it does. I give them a really great intake form. It's called Your Values and Beliefs. And they kind of, there's 12 questions that they ask themselves about different aspects of their life. So their social entertainment, their career, their family, their relationship or their spouse, their health and their well-being, their spirituality. And it asks them different questions and they just kind of answer it. And it just kind of, it points them is, what is the most important thing to you right now? Is it hobbies? Is it learning? Is it social? Is it entertainment? Is it health? And so a lot of people haven't taken time to take inventory about what their values and beliefs are. And so that's a really valuable tool that will bring instant awareness to them about what is actually driving and motivating them. So that's a really great initial intake form that I use. There's some awesome like ancient frameworks, like Japanese frameworks, Ikigai. I'm sure you've heard about that, where it's a combo of what you're good at or your talent is, what the world or your community needs, what you love doing, what you're passionate about doing, or what you could be recognized and paid for. So it's kind of 4 overlapping spheres and you just kind of plot it and it kind of helps you that way. So many different, really kind of eye-opening tools that I would use to say, okay, here's where you're at. And now let's give you a roadmap. Okay. Let's give you a roadmap of how do we get there? It's a process. It's a method. It's a program. And a couple other things. I don't like I don't like rules. I think rules create robots. And it's like you need to eat this, and you need to exercise like this, and you need to sleep at this time, and you need to read this book. Those are all very important habits, but we want to personalize it. So what I pride myself in, and what one of the very successful tools we do, is we give them reasons. And so here's the reason why you should do this, right? Because nobody likes fixed formulas. We like flexible formulas. That here's the roadmap. Here's where you're at. Here's where you need to improve. Let's give you different tasks, and let's give you what I also call as floors and ceilings. I'll give you a floor goal, a non-negotiable, something you can do very, very easy. And let's give you a ceiling goal. And ultimately, can you navigate your lifestyle and your decisions within these very realistic floors and ceilings, where you don't feel pressure, you don't feel like a failure if you're not doing something, but you still have a goal. And it's a flexible formula, and you're doing it based on your understanding about the reason why I should be doing this, and not just doing what I say because I'm the doctor and you should do that. So it really puts the power in the individual and lets them navigate the roadmap that I provide to them and choose the path that they want. I've done the opposite to Laura. I've done where I learned all these awesome concepts and great labs, and I said, here, you need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they come back in 2 weeks later, and I said, did you do A, B, C, D? And they said, no. And I'm like, why aren't you doing it? You're not compliant. Don't you want to be healthy? And I quickly realized that that's not what makes change with people. People are all different. There are different things that drive us. And so when you give tight parameters, I've just seen people can be successful in the short term, but eventually they can fall out of that. And so there's a kind of a quote or a saying. It says, you don't rise to the height of your goals, you fall to the level of your system, right? And so how do we build a system that their default operating system, right? Where they can just maintain that the majority of the time, and we can slowly shift it up, and they determine that. So sorry, that's a mouthful, but there's a lot of different concepts where the power is with them based on their values and beliefs.
Man, I love this. I love this. I haven't heard too many people talk about this and talk about working with people this way. And it's funny. I can just imagine, like, the average person's come in, is like, okay, you're pre-diabetic. You need to go keto, no more than 20 grams of carbs a day. Like, starting now, you can't eat anything other than what's on this list. And like, they come back and they're like, no, and then they might even feel worse. They might feel ashamed that they didn't do it, or feel worse about it, and might not help them at all. Versus, being a little more open and flexible, finding what works for them, talking to them about, finding their values and beliefs. I'm a big believer in that. I recorded a podcast episode that many people have told me has been their favorite, which is changing your identity and beliefs around health, right? Really thinking about that from a mental perspective there. So this is really good stuff. And I do want to, did we cover most of what you go through in the Lazarus Method, or do you want to give more of an overview of that?
Yeah, I would love to. This is a method, a system that I have been thinking about for really the last 15 years, refining, changing, using, upgrading. And Again, I've been in the trenches with many, many patients, and I have beta tested it, and I've seen amazing things, and I'm very excited. I'm taking this now to the masses, and it works. And so we're putting it onto, an online coaching program, and that's going to be coming out in a couple months. I'm very excited about it, but I'll basically tell you about it.
Yeah. So previously, this is only people who would be able to meet with you in person in California, but now you're actually moving it to be online, virtual, where people can do anywhere in the world.
Correct. I am launching it to the masses, and it's kind of surreal, to Laura. It's a big part of me and what I've learned with a lot of my lessons and failures as a person, as a patient, as a doctor. And it's also taking and applying what I've seen, like blessings and miracles, what works. And again, it is a method, is not the method. I am very careful with it. Anyone that says this is what you should do, I am very skeptical. And so this is the roadmap that I believe will truly change the world and people's perspective of health, wellness, and performance. And I created it based on many different previous concepts like Taoism, right? The yin and the yang and the chaos and the order. Stoicism, about focus on what you can control and mindset. And I can get into all of that. Ayurvedic medicine and chakras, from the crown all the way to the root and all of the chakras. Functional medicine and what we call the functional medicine matrix. So over the years, I've just kind of taken and utilized so many great healing methods and disciplines and kind of wrapped it into my own experience. And that's what it is. And it's basically that there are 7 elements of health. And on the bottom is 3 elements, and we call biological needs. And so everybody gets graded in every one of these. So this is move, rest, and nourish. Nourish is everything you're eating, everything you're not eating, your hydration, the supplements that you should be taking or not taking. And I can run those with blood chemistry and genetic SNP panels and microbiome tests. Now, this still doesn't mean I know everything about it, but based in when we're recording this in 2023, this is the best technology that we have right now to be able to personalize. And so I get this, and I give them a plan on nourish. Sleep, one of the most undervalued forms of healing and health, is inadequacies in sleep. And so I won't go into all of that, but I really I make sure they understand circadian rhythm. I make sure they have good sleep habits, getting their proper deep and REM. And, Matthew Walker really kind of lit the fire under a lot of people. And he's been on these great podcasts about, why we sleep, but the really understanding of the neurobiology and the hormones are tied to sleep. So big emphasis on that. And that's what I call rest. The other one is move. And it's those 3 pillars that I discussed. How can we create a movement pattern? And exercise to lower is one of the things of move, right? Because there's zone 1 all the way to zone 5. And eventually we want yoga, dance, play, fun, recreation, strength, power. And I want to build individuals that have the ability to do all of those, right? Okay. And then on the top would be like kind of third eye and crown chakra, which is what I call challenge, learn, and connect. Connect is connect to nature, connect to self, connect to tribe, which is our friends and our community. Learn is what we're doing right now. There is so many smart people, so much smarter than me, so much more experience than me, that I'm always learning. And again, like I said to start off the podcast, the more I learn, the less I understand. Being humble that we really don't know anything, right? And we're selecting different things and we're applying it and we're biohacking because we're only one person. And does this serve me or not? And then also, like, can we do things that create neuroplasticity in our brain? Can we get into flow states? And so having my patients and my participants understand the concept of learning, challenging conventional wisdom, realizing that most information on health is trying to sell them or convince them of something. And then the overarching is challenge. Or do they have a challenge in their life? Could be a career challenge, could be a personal challenge, could be a health or a fitness challenge, but it could also be little micro challenges that we set every day, like little tiny intentions, little things. Because when you set a challenge, be it a small one, that's where motivation comes from. That's where fulfillment and success comes from. And when we don't have that, over time, we can start to feel a little stale. So I help people identify that and constantly set small challenges that they can succeed in and big ones. And that's where the floors and ceilings come in. And all of these elements feed what's in here, which is called their spark, right? And I talked about it, which is ultimately we're on this planet for a very, very short time. And a lot of people take it really seriously, me included. When I had a near-death experience at 18, I had a revelation. And so I have a unique perspective of this. Okay. But without getting, too much into the weeds and too deep on this, this is really what kind of drives us, what's in here and what's in here. And so can I give tasks? Can I give suggestions? Can I nudge my patients to understand that this is a holistic sphere, and you want to exert a little bit of energy in every one of these things? Because if there is improper flow of energy, in my opinion, that the holistic model is imbalanced. And so challenge, learn, connect, nourish, rest, move might feel overwhelming, but I give them gamification tasks. And that is the method. And it's amazing. It's life-changing. And where the challenge is now is getting that to a bigger audience. And so that's what we're doing, but we're having success, and I'm really excited to bring it to the masses.
Amazing, man. Sounds really, really amazing. I always love when we have people who understand kind of the mental and personal development and spiritual aspect, and also the functional medicine and the conventional medicine and all of that, and kind of weaving it all together. It's very rare. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of, there's a lot of great doctors, but I would say there's also a lot who are missing a lot of those aspects that you just talked about, right? And they're just looking to conventional medicine. And I'm sure you've seen with the thousands of patients you've seen over the years, and just myself, even just from friends and people I've met throughout the health community who have, made incredible recoveries and incredible strides in their health. It's usually not, I don't know that I can't even think of anyone off the top of my head who was like, yeah, I went to a doctor and he, and it was this conventional medicine. I got this, he gave me this pill, and then my life was all taken care of after that. Never heard that one, but maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
well, it's a different model. I have a unique perspective on that too, right? Emergency medicine saved my life.
Absolutely.
Right? I got a nasty scar right here, brother, and they removed my organs and they saved my life. And so we have the best emergency medicine arguably in the world. If there's trauma or infectious disease, we are amazing.
Yep.
Conventional medicine is a different. Allopathic medicine is what we call the name, blame, tame game, right? It's reactive. It's match an imbalance or a symptom with a diagnosis, with a pill or a procedure. Now, I have to take digestive enzymes because I don't have a pancreas and I have no digestive enzymes. I have to shoot Humalog and Lantus because I'm a diabetic. So it's not medical bashing at all. There is a time and a place for that, right? I rely on allopathic medicine because without insulin, I am not here. And without these digestive enzymes, I am not here.
Right.
But the majority of patients who are surviving are seeking conventional medicine, which are going to be basically on these drugs, where there's a different model, which is the model that I just explained, which is teaching you how to thrive, not survive, but thrive. And how do we personalize it? And how do we proactive? And that's why it's growing. It's growing around the world. And there's a place for all of it, right? Yeah. Integrative medicine, emergency, conventional, functional, integrative, holistic. We're all on the same team. We all want to help patients have the best health outcomes and change this paradigm that we're on, which is non-sustainable. That we have to change this model, and it's complicated. It's political, and there's financial backing, but you and I having this discussion and sharing that there are alternatives, and there are evidence-based healing remedies that we can use. That's our legacy. That's what we're doing. That's our mission, is sharing that there are tools and there is a different way that I'm hoping most of the listeners realize and pursue.
Amazing. That was great clarification, great explanation. And then it's crazy when you say everything you've been through and how you're a diabetic because of the situation you went through. It's like, I'm looking at you. You said you were 46. You look like you're 30. He's jacked and ripped at the same time. He's really walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So I really appreciate it, and I'm sure people are going to want to know where they can. I don't know if you've released it yet. Maybe they can get on your email list so that they'll be notified. When you release this to the world, the Lazarus Method. But where can people follow you, find you?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. And so, I'm 46, so born in 77. So the whole social media thing, I felt like I missed this boat. And it's been in terms of my business and my entrepreneurship, it's been a very lacking aspect. And so I'm kind of private. Like I like doing my own stuff, and I like seeing the blessings and the miracles in my office. And so I don't have really a big social media platform. I was very hesitant at first, but what I'm realizing is my new mission is to share this method with the masses. It has to be there. Every single person that is reviewing this program with me, that is helping me create it and advertise it and market it, is saying you got to do it. So I am Dr. Ryan Lazarus, or the Ryan Lazarus. It's on Instagram, and that's kind of my personal. We're moving away from that. We're starting one called the Lazarus Method. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on those, but right now, I think the LazarusMethod.com is the place that people can learn more about the program. And we're going to be throwing all kinds of videos and different content in. If it's something that you're interested or you want to learn more about, go to the website and throw your email in there. We're not going to send, a bunch of emails, but once we do roll this out, we're excited at the potential and willing to share with anyone who wants to be engaged. So.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm like you, man. I prefer to stay off social media myself. I think it's largely a distraction and largely a waste of time. But it also is something that sometimes is a necessary thing. So I commend you for going after it. But yeah, so for now, LazarusMethod.com, LAZARUS method.com would be the best place, right? And then, yeah, I do see you have a place where people can enter their email there, and that way they can be notified when you do release the program in the next couple months, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I really appreciate the opportunity to share it and for bringing it on. It was great meeting you at our retreat, and I really value this conversation, and we're on the same team, we're all on the same team, just trying to share, great health advice and change this health paradigm that we're in.
I agree, man. And this has been really great. I've learned a lot. It's been a real pleasure to meet you and get to know you and to have you share your wisdom here. And I highly recommend people check you out and get involved. So yeah, man, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon.
You got it. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, and just a reminder, if you haven't yet tried any of our Peak Performance products, you get 20% off your first order. We have one of the largest selection of USDA certified organic superfood powders, as well as very high quality supplements, and you get 20% off your first order at buypeakperformance.com. That's www.buypeakperformance.com.